Okay, good evening, everyone. So first of all, I want to start off that, there's 2,711 blot in Shas. So, roughly a tenth of Shas, is 270. That's a tenth of Shas. I'm not an expert, but in my estimation, last night's daf was from the hardest tenth of Shas. In other words, it's one of the 270 most hardest dafim. Last night's daf was very hard daf. Tonight's daf is much easier. Much easier. You're not going to go through what you went through last night. Last night was quite demanding. And we are down the home stretch. I am looking at the possibility of having a Sunday night siyum. It's every night now is complicated. So I have a graduation of a grandchild at 5:30 Sunday. But I'm thinking that even so, if the graduation is in Lakewood, I think we might be able to pull off to have a siyum at 6:45, and then still have mincha at 8:10, and make a siyum then. So I'm tentatively looking at a 6:45 siyum for Sunday, for Masechtas Shavuos. Very hard Masechta. Motzei Shabbos, we start Avodah Zarah, and really, if you know anybody that is a possibility to start with us, it's a very easy Masechta, and then we get into the Chelik and Shas of Kachim, and although it's not something that people are familiar with, but Zvachim and Menachos are not hard to learn, and it's really a good time to start Daf Yomi. So it's a good time to work on people and get people to come to try to come and join us. Our tour through this Masechta has been made anonymously for the spiritual, emotional, and physical protection of Yeshua Menachem Mendel ben Bela Shendel Rivka, and by Shelley Zeitlin for his children, Eli, Orit, and Ora, and by A.B. also the Fush Lema for Shimon ben Sarah Miriam, and Moshe Meir ben Esther Fradel. And it's also made possible by A.B. Spry, Refuah Shalema for Toiba Reise Bas Hinda, and great zivugim for their daughter and grandchildren. We begin on Daf Mem Chesam and Beis. We have a little bit of Gemara left before the Mishnah.
It's my mom's birthday tonight.
What?
It's my mom's birthday tonight. Penina Bat Simcha.
What's her name?
Penina Bat Simcha.
Penina Bat Simcha. Her neshama should have a lichtige aliyah. She should be a Malitza Yeshara for Eddie, for the whole family, and for all of Klal Yisrael.
Thank you.
And she managed to have an Eddie, Eddie touches nitzitzis all over America. I don't know what he does with the klippos, but he touches them. He's on search right now for more klippos. Okay, so we are holding at the two dots. Cholku hashutfin v'arisen. If the partners and the sharecroppers already divided, and then later on one of them wakes up and wants to have this, non-taina claim. I want you to swear to me that when we were partners, it's too late. Now, we said that there is such a thing as Gilgul Shvuah. And that is that once someone has to make an oath, then you could devolve upon him oaths that normally you wouldn't be able to impose. For example, you can't impose an oath on real estate. But if the person has to make an oath anyway, so then you could impose other oaths that you want him to make also. Now, could you do that even by a Shvud Rabbana? Right? Like we said that there's such a thing as a Shavuos Heses, or Shavuos that we had in our Mishnah. We said that a Drabanan Dika oath is Shavuos HaYarshin, where the Yarshim swear that they didn't hear from their father that the debt was paid. Right? That's a Drabanan. So can we impose other oaths by the device of Gilgul on a Shvud Rabbanan? Tajma, we learned, Lo v'heimenu erev Shvius, if let's say Marshall took a loan for me before Shvius, Ulamotzoi Shvius nasa leishut v'yarif, and on Motzi Shvius he becomes with me a partner or a sharecropper, and I could ask him to make a shvuah that he didn't have sticky fingers. Ein megalgalin. I can't roll on him also I can't roll on him at anything about the loan, since now here, what's the since? Since Shemitah anyway relinquished the loan. So the Gemara says, "Time of the love menu erev Shvius." It's because he took the loan erev Shvius. The asya Shvius afkate. Shvius came and released it. Hashar shnei shvuah. But if it would be any other time, megalgalin. Now that's even though the shvuah of an oris and the shvuah of a shutif is only the Rabbanan, yet we say Gilgul Shvuah. Says the Gemara, no, that's not a good diak. That's not a good proof. Don't deduce that if it would be any time, I would be able to do Gilgul Shvuah about the loan, since it's not released, even though the shvuah of a shutif or an aris is only the Rabbanan. Ela ema nasa lo shutif or aris erev Shvius, if he became a partner or a sharecropper erev Shvius, ulamatzai Shvius lavei menu, and on matzai Shvius he took a loan, and with that loan he became required to make a shvud daraisa. For example, let's say I claimed from him 1,000, and he admitted to 500, so he was a maidim mixas. So maidim mixas, he has to swear. Megalgalin, we also roll upon him a shvuah about the sharecropping arrangement. Now, because the sharecropping arrangement is a question of theft, Shemitah doesn't release anything about theft. Says the Gemara, that I don't need to teach. That it says beferish nasal shutif aris Shvius, if he became a shutif or an aris before Shvius. So therefore it must be that we make the first diak, and the first diak is the only reason where if he's a shutif or an aris after Shvius, and he has to swear. The only reason I can't be megalgal on him also a shvuah about the loan is because the loan was done before Shemitah and Shemitah released it. But if it wouldn't be, I would be able to roll on him the shvuah about the loan, even though the shvuah of an aris or a shutif is only the Rabbanan. Shmami no megalgalin b'Rabbanan, that we say Gilgul Shvuah even by a Rabbanan. Am Rav Huna. L'kol megalgalan. We always do Gilgal Shvuah. Chutz misacher she'ein megalgalan. Except in the case where, if let's say Marshall says, I didn't pay him, and I said I pay him. So we say that Marshall, as the employee, has the right to swear. Where I ask him to swear over there, we can't be megalgel other shvuas for the shvua of a sacher. Chutz misacher she'ein megalgel. Except the oath of a worker, of an employee, we can't devolve upon him other oaths. Rav Chisda Amar lakol ein makilan. By any other shvuah d'Rabbanan, we're not makel, and we do Gilgal shvuah. Chutz misacher de makilan, except by a sacher that we are makel, and we don't say Gilgal shvuah. So it sounds like Rav Chisda and Rav Huna are saying the same thing. My beinayu, says the Gemara, Iki beinayu liftoyach loy. The difference is, in the case of other shvuos d'Rabbanan, besides an employee, do we tell the claimant, do you have any other oaths that you want to roll on him? Right? So Rav Huna says that if it's another type of shvuah d'Rabbanan, we'll ask the claimant, is there any other oaths? Will be peiseach. While Rav Chisda says he can ask, but we won't suggest it. And finally, vashvias mishametes. If Marshall was due to swear to me about a loan, and then Shemitah comes, just like Shemitah relinquishes the loan, it relinquishes the need of a shvuah. Says the Gemara, Menahani Mili, how do I know this? Rav Gidel Amarav, the Amakrav is zed devar hashmita. Sometimes Shemitah releases even on devar, even on a word, even on a shvuah. Afilu dibur mishametas. Hadru lach kol hanishban, hadru lach kol hanishban, hadru lach kol hanishban. And now we embark on the final parak, which is only one blot, the final parak of the Masechta. Now let me just give you a little bit of a preface. First of all, there is a Shavuos HaShomrim, otherwise known as Shavuos HaPikadon, the oath of one who gets a deposit, right? So the din is with that oath, the only time that you bring an oshim and have to pay a chaimish, which is really a quarter, because it's a chaimish milavar. It's a quarter, and when you add that quarter to the total, to the principal, it becomes a fifth. The only time that Marshall has to bring a carbon oshim and pay the extra fifth is only where he makes a shvuah that would exempt him, otherwise he would be liable. The shvuah exempts him, and then he confesses. If witnesses come, he doesn't bring a carbon. It's only brought upon where he makes a shvuah, and then he confesses. So then he brings a carbon ashim, a guilt offering, and he pays the principal and a fifth. But again, it's only where he would have had to pay, and with his shvuah, he exempts himself from paying. If he wouldn't have had to pay anyway, even though he swears falsely, but since he wouldn't have had to pay anyway, he doesn't bring an ashim. Or if his shvuah doesn't help him and he has to pay anyway, he also doesn't bring an ashim. So now let's also there are three categories. There's a Shemer Chinam. Now, Marshall doesn't do anything for free. But if Shalom guards my case for free, the din is, if anything happens, Shalom has no liability unless he was negligent. In other words, if he leaves the door open and somebody steals it, then he's going to have to pay. But if he's not negligent, he's not chayiv. If it got lost, if it got stolen, if it was an animal and it died, he's not chayiv for any of that. Then we have a guy like Marshall, who's a shemer sacher, a paid watchman. A paid watchman has more liability because he's being paid. So he's chayiv not only if he's negligent, but he's also chayiv if it was stolen or if it was lost. But if it died a natural death, it's an animal that died a natural death, or it broke a bone, or it got taken by armed bandits, Marshall is exempt. There's only a limited liability for a shemer sacher. And then you have Shelley, who's a shoyel. He borrows something. He borrows something from me. A shoyel has the most liability. He's chayiv with certain exceptions. We'll see in the Mishnah those exceptions. Now, there is a fourth case, and that's a renter. A seicher, a renter. There's a machlokes if a renter is like a shemer sacher or a shemer chinam. So arba shemim hein. There are four types of guards. Shemer chinam, one who does it for free. Hashayel, one who who borrows the item. Noisei sacher, a paid watchman, and vaseicher, and a renter. The Gemara is going to say there's 4 shemim and only 3 halachas. So shemer chinam nishbal hakol. Shemer chinam, shalom, swears about everything. In other words, as long as he wasn't negligent, he's exempt in all situations. Vashoyel, Sheli, mishalem es hakol. He's chayiv in all situations. Noisei sacher v'haseicher, our Mishnah holds, like the opinion that a renter is like a paid watchman. So Marshall, nishboin ala shvura v'ala shvuya v'ala mesa. He could swear saying that it was broken, it was taken by armed robbers, or it died a natural death. But u'mishalmin es ha'aveidav es ha'gneiv. He pays if it was lost or it was stolen. So now, let's start with Shalom first. Amal Hashem Mechinam, I tell Shalom, Heichon Shairi, where's my axe? Amalai mace. He claims that it died. Now, in reality, it didn't die, but it was broken, it was taken by armed guards, it was stolen, or it was lost. So over here, even though he swore falsely, he's not going to be chayiv. Because either way he's pater. As long as he wasn't negligent in all these cases, he's pater. Remember we said that the only time Shalom is going to be chayiv if he swears to exempt himself from liability. But here, even the way it really was, he also is pater. So again, Amal Hashem Mechinam, Eichon Shairi. Shalom, where's my axe? Amalei makes. He says it died. In reality, it was broken, it was taken by armed robbers, it was stolen, it was lost. Either way, he's pater. Nishbar, he says it was broken. In reality, it died, it was taken by armed robbers, it was stolen, or it was lost. Nishbar. He says, it would take my arm no arbas. It died, it was fractured, it was stolen, or it was lost. Nignav, it was stolen. In reality, it died, it was fractured, it was captured, or it was lost. Ovad, he says it was lost. And really it died. It got fractured, it was taken by armed robbers, or it was stolen. I put him to an oath with the claim. And he says, Amen. And then he confesses, it didn't die. But so what? Even though it didn't die, there's no liability because it was stolen or it was fractured. Either way, there's no liability. So Potter, he doesn't bring an asham and he doesn't pay a fifth. Because the only time he brings an asham and pays a fifth is where his shvuah gets him out of a liability, and otherwise he has a liability. But here, either way, he doesn't have a liability. You'll say why he swore, he didn't know. Now, again, we pick on Shalom. Hey, Chan Shairi. Shalom, where's my shar? Amalai, Eini Yodea. Eini Yodea Matasach. I know what you're talking about. What are you talking about? Why is a shar? The closest thing that I have to a shar is on my cereal box. We're talking about your shar. Now, Lamaisa is he's lying. He had my shar, but he wasn't negligent. In reality, it died, it was broken, it was taken by armed bandits, it was stolen, it was lost. So either way, he had no liability. I put you to an oath, Amen. Yeah, that he doesn't know what I'm talking about. But in reality, anyway, he wasn't going to be liable anyway. Again, Potter. Another case. Heichan Shairi. Shalom, where's my shar? Amalai Ovid. He says, it was lost. Mashbiachani, I put you to an oath, Amar Amen. And now, witnesses come and testify that Shalom made a barbecue. Yeah, in Woodlake. He made a barbecue for half the place. With a show, you could make a big barbecue. Right? And okay, so now his oath was giving him giving him a way out because he made an oath that was lost. In reality, he stole it, but he's not chayiv an asham because here he didn't confess. Remember, we said you only chayiv an asham if you confessed. Here he didn't confess. Here witnesses came and said that he ate it. So Meshalem es hakeren. If he admits after he swore that was lost, he admits that he made a barbecue for half a Woodlake, then Mishalem Keren Chayim Shvashim. That's the first case. We attack have a Shavuos Epikadon, we praise the principle, a fifth, and he brings a guilt offering. Now notice, because Shalom claimed it was lost, where Adim come, he doesn't pay kefil. Although he stole it. But there's no kefil by Toyin Tainus Ovad. He claims it was lost. But the next case, Heichan Shairi Shalom, where's my axe? V'amalei Nignav. He said it was stolen. Mashbiachani, I put you to an oath, Amen. V'edem eidem Isai sheganvu. And witnesses testify that Shalom stole it. Then, that's Toyin Tainus Ganev. Then he pays kefil. Shalom Tashlum kefil. Again, if he admits it on his own, so then that's going to be a case where he has to bring an asham. Now, Amar le'echad b'shuk. I say to Marshall, some guy in the marketplace, right? Some guy, you know who some guy is. Marshall, it'll get better when I compare you to Avodah Zaras. Don't worry.
I'm looking forward to that one.
Now, we're gonna make you a Merkulis, and we're gonna throw stones at you.
Like I said, minimum ball four.
Right. Amale echad b'shuk. We tell Marshall, Heichen shoyri shiganafta. Marshall, where's my axe that you stole? Hu aimer loy ganafti. He says I didn't steal it. V'edem me'idin oisei shiganvu. And witnesses come and say he did steal it. Mishalem tashlum ekef. Tavachu macher. If he also slaughtered or sold it, and it was a sheep or a ox, so then Rishalem Tashlumi Abba Chamisha. By a sheep he pays 4, and by an ox he says 5. Ro Adim, if Marshall, remember, you don't pay a knas when you're murder. So Ro Adim Shemamash Mishin Abar. He sees witnesses coming. Amar Ganafti, I can't tell a lie. I stole it. Avaloi tavachti v'loi mecharti. But I didn't slaughter it and I didn't sell it. Now in that case, since he was murdered that he stole it, so he can't pay kefil. Now even if witnesses testify that he did subsequently sell it or slaughter it, he's not going to be chayiv 3 or 4. Because the Torah says only 4 and 5. And since he's exempt from the kefil, because you don't pay kefil when you admit, so he doesn't pay for the tvicha and mechira either. So Ein Mishalem El Karen. Oh, now let's go to Shelley. Remember, Shelley is the one that borrowed the item. I have a tennis racket, and Shelley borrowed. I'm not giving him my pickleball racket, but he wants to borrow my tennis racket. So Amal Ishol. Okay, it was an ox. All right, it was an ox.
It was a tennis ox. It fits right into the Mishnah.
It was an ox. Amal Shoyel, I say to Shelley, Heichon Shoyri, where's my Elsie? Where's my ox? So here, Amalai, remember, he's Chayev for Einstein. So Amalai, Shelley says, Mace. Now, with his claim, there's no exemption from liability, because if it dies, he's still chayiv. Now, the Lamai says he was lying, because Vusha Nishbar, it was broken, or Nishbar was taken by armed bandits, or Nignav, or Avav, it was stolen or lost, but it makes no difference. Either way, he's liable. So his shvuah is not going to get him off the hook, or all the different variables. Nishbar, he says it was broken. Vusha Meis, it died on Nishbar, or Nignav, or Avav. It really was died or was taken by armed bandits, it was stolen or lost. Nishba, he says that it was taken by armed bandits. Really it died, it was broken, it was stolen or lost. Or Nignav, it was stolen. Really it died, it was broken, it was taken by armed bandits or lost. Ovid, he says it was lost. Really it died. Nignav. It makes no difference. With his claim, he has liability, and with the truth, he has liability. So Mashbiach Ani, I put him to an oath for Amar Amen, and he says, yes, and then we find out he was lying. But either way, he had liability. So remember, he's not chayiv a shvuah sapikadon unless his shvuah would give him exemption. So Potter. Heichen Shairi, I asked Shelley, where's my ox? So Shelley plays dumb. He says he plays the lahadam card. Amalai, I don't know what you're talking about. Now, in reality, it died, it was broken, it was taken by an armed bandit, it was stolen, or it was lost. Now his claim would get him exemption because he says, "I don't know, I never borrowed it." The reality makes him chayiv. So mashbiach ani, I put you to an oath for Amar Amen chayiv, because there his shvuah would have gotten him exemption. And now we're going to Marshall, who watches things for lots of money. Right? That's Marshall's a businessman.
I work for hot dogs too.
You have to be a bodybuilder to carry all the boxes that you want of the hot dog.
That and the roast Pepsi.
This man Yama holds that a renter has the same din as a paid watchman. Remember, a paid watchman is chayiv if it was lost or it was stolen. He's potter if it died a natural death, if it broke bones, if it was taken by an armed robber. So here, let's see. Where's my axe? Amalei, so he says mace. Now, if it died, he's exempt. Now, he lied, but either way he would have been exempt because nishba or nishba, it was either broken or taken by armed robbers. Nishba, he said it was broken. Vushamesa nishba, either way it would be potter. Nishba was taken by armed robbers. Vushamesa nishba. Or, if either way he would be liable. He says that it was stolen, nignav, admitting to liability. Vusha avad, it was lost, but either way he would be liable. Avad, he says it was lost. Vusha nignav. Mashbiach, I put him to an oath for Amar Amen. In both of these scenarios, he's potter. Because either both ways he would have been potter, or both ways he was chayiv. So his shmua is not giving him an exemption. But if he claims as a shomer sacher, meisai nishba, that it died, it was broken, it was taken by armed bandits, which would have given him an exemption. But in reality it was stolen or lost. And then he would be chayiv. I put him to an oath, Amar Amen. So then his oath would get him off the hook, chayiv. If he says Avarei Nignav, if he says it was lost or was stolen, therefore admitting to liability. In truth, it died, it was broken, it was taken by armed robbers where he doesn't have liability. I put him to an oath, Amen, so his oath didn't help him at all. His oath made him liable, where in reality he's not chayav anything, again potter. And then the Mishnah just, gives us the general principle. Zaklal, kol ha-mishana mechayva l'chayva. If he deviates, but with his claim he would be chayiv, and in reality he's chayiv, or p'tur l'p'tur, his claim makes him potter, but in reality he's potter. Or if he's crazy, he swears, reality is potter, but he swears something that makes him chayiv, or p'tur l'chayva. In all these cases, he's not chayiv a carbon asher, potter. Mechayva l'p'tur. If in reality he was chayiv, like a shomer sacher, it was stolen and lost, and he swore it was an armed robber, or died, or it was broken, that's chayiv. And zaklal, kol ha-nishba lo hakel al atzmai. If he swears to make it easier on himself, chayiv. L'achmer al atzmai, to make him worse, potter. So the Gemara now first says, obviously our Mishnah says that a renter is in the same category as a shomer sacher. So mantana arba shomer, Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Rav Avura Meiri. Says the Gemara, what do you mean? Everybody holds that there's 4 shomer. Amalei Rav Nachman Ikit Tana Delesle Abba shomer. There's not 4 categories: a shomer chinam, a shomer sacher, a seicher, and a shayel. Amalei Hachi Ka'amin Alach. Since our Mishnah says that the shomer sacher and the seicher are the same, man tamad ha'omer seicher k'noisei sacher, who holds that a renter is like a paid watchman. Amar Rabba bar Avura Meiri. Says but we heard Rameir say the opposite. Rameir ipcha shamin alei. Did not seicher keitzim nisham. Rameir aimer kishay mechinam. Rameir says like a unpaid watchman. Rabbi Yehuda k'noisei sacher. Says the Gemara, Rabba bar Avura ipcha tani. He has Rameir hold that a shomer sacher, a seicher is like a shomer sacher, a renter is like a paid watchman. Says the Gemara, But what do you mean? Then there is only three, because either you hold that Shem Yisachar is like a Shem Yisachar, or you hold that a Seichel is like a Shem Yechinim, so there's only three categories. Hani Abba have it, Shleish have it, it's three halachas. Amar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, Abba Shemim, there are four categories, Shem Yechinim, Shem Yisachar, Shayel and a Seicher, but the Dinei and Shleisha. The laws are only three, because either the Seicher is like the Shem Yechinim, or the Seicher is like the Shem Yisachar. Amal Hashem Yechinam, Eichen Shari, Amal Lechem B'Shuk, Amal Hashemer, Eichen Shari, Amal Ein Yedeh Ma'atasach. Now, here's an interesting thing. When Marshall swears that he doesn't know what I'm talking about, but in reality it was lost or stolen, so he said he's potter from a Shavuos Pikadon, because either way he's chayav. Right? Excuse me. If Marshall swears that it was lost, and it turns out that it was stolen, so either way he's chayav. So he said he's potter, because his shvuah wouldn't have exempted him from liability. But is he chayav for a shvuas bituy? It's not a shvuas shayman, but it is a false oath. It is a false oath of utterance. So maybe he doesn't bring an ashim, a guilt offering, but he has to bring a carbon chattas, a carbon oil of a yayrei, for making a false oath, an oath of utterance. So says the Gemara, Amarav, the kulan peturin mishvuas shayman. He's parted from a shvuas shayman, but the chayavim mishum shvuas bitoy. He's chayav for an oath of utterance. B'Shmuel Amar af peturim mishum shvuas bitoy. Shmuel says he's also not chayav for an oath of utterance. Now, what would be the reason for Shmuel? I mean, he did lie. He swore that it was stolen, and in truth it was lost. So that's a false oath of utterance. But my kamiflagi, Shmuel Savar Leisa B'Lahaba. He says the only time you're chayiv a shvuas bitoy is if it could be also in the future. Now you could swear that it was stolen or that it wasn't stolen, but you can't swear that it will be stolen. You can't swear that it will be lost. So Shmuel Amar, Shmuel Savaleisa Laba. And since it can't be constructed in the future, it doesn't fall into the parameters of a Shavuos Bitoy. V'Rav Savar Isei B'Lav V'Hein. Rav says the only thing is it has to be able to be constructed in the negative and the positive. And it can be constructed. You could swear that it wasn't stolen or that it was stolen. Says the Gemara, well, what do we need them to argue about that here? They argued about this once already. If Marshall swears that Eddie threw a rock in the sea, or he swears that he didn't, Rav Amar Chayiv, Rav says he's Chayiv, Shmuel Amar Pater. Rav Amar Chayiv, the Isei B'Lav V'Hein. It could be constructed in the negative and the positive. Right? Because Marshall could swear that Eddie did it or that he didn't do it. Shmuel Amar Pater, because he can't swear that Marshall will do it. I mean, he can't swear that Eddie will do it. Can't swear what somebody else is going to do. Delays Balaba. So why do they have to argue over here and also over there? You know why? Because in our Mishnah, the case is talking about a administered oath, where the court administers the oath. So the Iyashmin on Baha, if they would argue only by Shavuos Bitui earlier, Baha Ka'amar Rav, their Rav says that it's enough that it could be constructed in negative and the positive, Mishum de Menafshe Kamishtav, because it's an oath that he made on his own. Aval Bahach Dina the Beidina Mashbiale, but here, where it's administered by Bezdin, Ema Maidale L'Shmuel, maybe he admits to Shmuel, K'd Rabami. The Amar Rabami, Kol Shvuah Dayanim Mashbian Isa, any Shvuah that the Dayanim impose, you're not chayiv for Shavuos Bitui. Ein chayav lo mishum Shavuos Bitui. V'yet my Baha, and if they only argue over here where it's imposed, Baha Kama Shmuel. It's only over here that Shmuel says that he's not chayiv, because you're not chayiv for a Shavuos Bitui and an oath imposed by the court. Aval Bahach, but by a regular Shavuos Bitui swearing, where he swears, Marshall swears, that Eddie threw the rock, Ein Mamoidele the rock, that it doesn't have to be constructed also B'lahaba in the future. Tzricha, therefore they need to argue in both cases. Now, I'll save the Gufa for the Siyam. We're going to call a Siyam tentatively for Sunday at 6:45. Does that work for the Ilam here? Here. Yeah? Yeah?
Can I ask a question just on what we said?
1 second, please.
What time is it?
Huh?
What time will men for the
10 after 8.
10 after 8?
Yeah. Danny, could you come to a CM at 6:45 on Sunday? Good. Okay, and we'll see. Barish, is that good for you?
Yeah, and I have a chas on a Sunday night in Brooklyn.
Oh, I hear.
Rabbi Lachara should be able to attend.
Good. It's very complicated for me because Monday, I don't think I could do it any other day. I'm sorry, Barish.
What about the following week?
I don't want to push it off that far. We end up pushing it off and we don't do it.
We still have to do Nashim, don't we?
No, we did. We did it already.
Oh,
Yeah.
I missed that one.
Sunday morning, out of the question?
Sunday morning.
I'm going to be in Lakewood anyway. It'll be a double seeing for me.
Barish, Sunday morning you'd be able to do also, right?
Yeah, I have a share that goes until 10.
I don't know. Right now we're going to leave it at 6:45, and we'll see. We'll see. I have to talk Miva Mi'ahochem. Right now, Rabbi say we're going to do for the Shabbos table. So,
What's the Shabbos?
but Shabbos is 10:45.